Hello and good afternoon. How are you guys? I happy quarantine, I guess. Everybody's been home. This is Moji Solo Wilson. I coming to you from Authentic Conversations with Moji, and we're doing this on my personal page because this is a topic I've wanted to speak about for a while. So welcome. Hope you're ready for fun, fantastic conversations today. Again, this is Authentic Conversations on Moji's World. Well, welcome back. This week I found out was, I never heard it. I found out this week was Lesbian Visibility Week. Oh my God. Never knew we had a week. Never even knew we had a Lesbian Visibility Day, let alone Lesbian Visibility Week. One of the most important things, I think, part of my mission and my wife's mission is visibility. So visibility is very, very important to us. When I came out, I had no idea there was anybody else that was Nigerian and gay. I'd always thought it was a white man or European thing or disease, like they called it in those days. So being able to be in the presence of other gay people was very important. And thank God that by the time I came into my skin, to see other African LGBTQs, because it does make a difference. Very often, we believe that because other people are gay, everything else is fine because we know that there's a white man that's gay, there's a black man that's gay. But we have to understand how important it is to recognize ourselves in our community. So I'm going to bring up a quote in 1 second. And the quote says, the number of people, and this is very true for me, that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite quotes. It says the number of people who said that it made a difference to them that I am out is the reason that I am out. That's the reason I still stay out for me. There are people who devote their lives to taking away the rights of gays and lesbians. And I think that visibility is very important. I am trying to encourage more people to come out and show everyone who they are, because it's harder to take away the rights of a human being. And again, this particular quote, I forget the guy's name, Anthony Wise or something like that. It's very important to me because a lot of the reasons why I still sit here each day is because I personally get emails and inboxes from people all across, from Africans and mainly Nigerians, from all over the world saying, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you. Because of you, I'm able to live in my authentic skin. Now, in saying all of that, it's very important for us all to know that it's not an easy walk. Nobody's asking people that are not ready to come out. What visibility means to me is just being able to see. It's like when you want to be, it's having, when you want to be a lawyer, you usually recognize a lawyer that's very successful or that emulates, the kind of law that you would like to practice. So you kind of follow them. When I was coming out, the people I saw on social media, which was kind of sort of new in those days, because I am 55 years old, were not exactly the type of people that I wanted to, model my life, towards. I was looking for people that had families or people that had children or they had, they've been in a secure relationship and they're not jumping from one person to the other. When we talk about lesbian visibility, though, I want people to understand that one of the reasons why I got excited is because for the past few years, we've heard about transgenders, trans women, really, and everything in the LGBTQ movement has been geared towards being LGBTQ, has been geared towards being transgenders. I have nothing against my transgender sisters, nothing at all. But for me, because I came out banging, I came out with literally, I had to come out of the basement, then I got to the closet, then I came out of the closet. So it was a process for me. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, hey, I'm coming out. No. And it cost me a lot. So my label, lesbian, not queer, not whatever, lesbian is very important to me. Somebody said to me last night, why are you so particular on the word lesbian? Because that's my identity. It's part of my identity. I don't want to go to a supermarket and buy a can of corn because it's mislabeled, and then I get home and there's string beans inside it. My lesbian label is very, very important to me, and it's important to a lot of people. We're finding a lot of people are confused these days because there's so many different labels. We have LGBTQIA, QA, all the way to Z now. Lesbian, the word lesbian is something that a lot of us that, that identify as lesbians, I find it's like I get on thread sometimes and I have to fight with people because they ask me, why do you have to label yourself? Honey, I'm lesbian. There's nothing. It took me a long time to be able to accept that label. And I'm not here to advise anybody on how to get that. Call yourself what you want. Lesbian visibility is very important because the people out there, a lot of people out there that do not actually recognize themselves. They don't know what label they are at the moment. And the more blurry the definitions are, the less lesbians we're finding out there. There's so many people I talk to that I know they're lesbians, they're in relationships with women, but because they don't want that label, they call themselves queer, they call themselves bi, they call themselves all kinds of things. For us that are lesbians, it's such a beautiful thing to have a lesbian week. Now, the topic of the show, and I'm about to bring in my guest, the topic of the show is Lesbian Visibility Week. Why do we even need that? And how do we acquire lesbian visibility? Let me bring in Tammy PA. I always say her name. She's a comedian that I have followed for quite a long time. She's one of the first, truly, aside of Ellen DeGeneres, but she's one of the first Black lesbians that I know that own who they are. And I remember running into her at a karaoke show, and she was doing comedy, and she's like, I'm a lesbian, and I'm because this was in those days where emoji was still kind of like they, when I talked about the person I was in, I would use they and not her or she. Miss PA, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's going to be a fun conversation. How are you?
I'm great, Moji, and how?
I am good, thank you. Thank you so much for accepting the invitations. You can't hear me? I can't hear you either. Can you hear me? Can somebody figure out why she can't hear me? Do you have headsets? We're gonna mess up your hair. Hold on one second. I think you might need, I'm gonna inbox you. I think you might need headsets. Okay, she's gonna come back in. In the meantime, let me bring Abimbola Omotayo, who is in the UK, who's a lesbian in Nigeria. How are you?
I'm very fine, Ma. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Very loud and clear. Well, the topic of the day is, Miss Pierre is going to come back in. The topic of the day is Lesbian Visibility Week. Why do we need one? And how do we, how do we make ourselves visible for the young ones? And for you, I'm sure you understand how important this has been in a moment, because in Nigeria, we don't have a lot of out lesbians. They usually let me bring this back in for a moment.
Right.
So, and because it's all of us on the screen, we're going to have to take time. Welcome back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Miss PA, please meet Omotayo Abimbola Ayoka. Let's just pick up Omotayo.
Greetings,
okay. All right, thank you.
And I purposely chased you down, Miss PA, because you're American. And there's a lot to learn from our American sisters that have been out kind of sort of a lot longer. We're still fighting the battle. So just for a moment, I have to acknowledge that 2 days ago, we lost a 20-year-old butch girl in Nigeria.
I saw it.
Do it anymore. So her name is Tolu Chel. I can't remember her full name because I didn't know her personally, but one of my mentees is very close with, was a close friend of hers. So may her soul rest in peace. But we're trying to avoid a lot of Tolus. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Pierre. What, you've been out longer than most people that I know outside of my wife. So can you talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to be so absolutely fabulously lesbian?
Okay, I'm a preacher's kid. My mom was a preacher, pastor, evangelist, and it wasn't easy. But I knew that if I were true to myself, that it would impact how I maneuvered through my journey.
Yeah.
The more I realized that when I hid, I had to tell a lie on top of a lie. When I tried to have a boyfriend, I had to lie, and it just was too much. It was too much. I was tired of seeing the same movies twice. Tired, it was just like, what it felt like is just like being a down low man. It's no different than being a down low man, because you're going to see the same movie twice. Sometimes you have to eat dinner twice. You got to sit on the phone and be nice to too many people. And it just got to a point where, honestly, one of my ex-boyfriend's grandmother, she was really old. She was about 90 back then. And he was a great guy. We're still friends today. He was a great guy. He was wonderful to me, Moji. When I say he was wonderful, any woman in her right mind would have married this young man. And I just couldn't stop cheating on him. I couldn't. With women, of course.
Okay.
And his grandmother had told him one day, because he was like, I'm going to marry Tammy. And she looked at him and she said, that gal don't want you. You see how she looked at your cousin?
Whoa. See, parents know, because a lot of times we think we don't.
It took a 90-year-old woman
to
tell me, she said, you don't love my grandson.
Whoa.
You don't love my grandson. Tell him the truth. And move forward with your friendship, because you don't want to be in a relationship with him. I had to tell him the truth. And when I told him the truth, he said, my grandmother's been saying that for a while. I was like, well, she needs to mind her business, but it was true. And from that moment, I realized that I couldn't play with people's emotions.
Yeah.
I could no longer live a double life. And when I started to really speak out about it, I realized that there were people who needed to know that they weren't the only one experiencing this. And that's what was huge for me, because back in those days, it was like you played basketball or you didn't. And if you played basketball, you played basketball. It was like, and I had to let girls know that you didn't have to play basketball. You don't have to hang around certain types of girls. You could be a regular person. You don't have to fall into stereotypes. And you just need to be honest with yourself. And when I started being honest with myself and honest with my best friends, and I told my dad, and I just said whatever I needed to say, I realized my journey became easier for me.
Right.
Because I now didn't have to introduce you to Tammy, the lesbian who's pretending to be straight.
Wow.
I didn't have to introduce you to Tammy, who's going to cheat on your ass every time. I just couldn't be faithful to a man. It's just the truth. I couldn't. And I'm not a cheater. I just couldn't be faithful to them because I never felt fulfilled. And I always had this thing where I was wondering to myself, wouldn't it be cool if one day people just accepted how I felt?
Did it help? Did you have anybody in your sphere at that point, outside of basketball players, that were lesbians at all? Or they just...
No, not really. I had a few friends in high school, and the aesthetic that they subscribed to, I didn't subscribe to those things. I didn't want to look like a boy.
That was one of my biggest problems.
I didn't want to shave my hair off. I didn't want to wear gold teeth. Like, I didn't want to look the way they looked. And so I felt sort of, as a feminine lesbian, it's even harder because you always have men will see a hard lesbian and they'll try to shoot their shot to see if she's down. But as a feminine woman, Moji, you know that you're always feeling like here he comes. Like you always have that feeling that you have to somehow defend yourself from heterosexual men. I didn't have anybody to talk to about that at all.
One of the hardest things for me when I was coming out was that a lot of the people that I saw that were gay or lesbians that were out were butch women. And in reality, they didn't really have a choice because their looks alone, even if they were not gay, because I found out that you can be butch and still be heterosexual. You know, I didn't know that. So every lesbian I knew was butch. So when I was coming out and I knew that I liked women, I thought I had to be butch as well. Can you imagine me? I used to go to nightclubs with, looking butch, high heel shoes, and my cleavage out and I looked funny. People would laugh at me like, "Are you confused?"
But you know what it is? Being feminine made you like the invisible lesbian.
Right.
Because butches had butches to hang out with, and you could always see your people and know, hey, you had that thing where you could see each other to connect. When you're a feminine lesbian, in a time when things weren't so friendly, you were like invisible.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really that Abiola, we're coming to you in a moment because I purposely picked the people that came on today. It's important to get all views of what a lesbian looks like, because a lot of times we think all lesbians are butches. And the day I ran into you standing up there and saying, because I know a lot of women that are lesbians that look like me, but a lot of them were in the closet, they were married to men and snuck out, at night and stuff. Nobody. And here I am screaming, I'm lesbian. And men will tell me, you don't have to lie and say you're a lesbian. If it's no, just say no. And I'm like, but I am, So the day I can never forget the day I saw you, and visibility is a topic. So the day I saw you on stage and you're like, and I'm like, oh. And then a few months later, there was an article. Remember that you were on the cover of the magazine? I remember inboxing you. I was crying as I was texting you. Oh my God, you just saved my life. And I was mental. But
people think that only gay men go through these things. But as same gender loving women, it's especially when you have our cultural differences and prejudices that we have as culturally. When you look at socioeconomic status, if you have the money to go to the upper scale lesbian places and things like that, but and then you have to look at just racially. Black people aren't, can be sort of not so accepting of same gender loving women, especially Black men.
Yes. And I think
because they feel that a little bit of dick will cure you.
Shh, we can't curse on Moji's show. That's your show.
That's why I come to your page. Dick is not a curse.
That's true. It's biology.
They think that's the remedy for whatever you're feeling. Even in Bola, if you see a man has told you that before, right?
Yeah. Yes. Right up in Bola, they tell me. All the time. Especially African men that think, I think it's all Black men. They all think that every woman is theirs to take. Let me bring in Abimbola for a moment. Abimbola is Nigerian. She's in the UK. Nigeria, for those of you guys that don't know, has a 14-year anti-same gender marriage law that puts lesbians and gays in jail for 14 years. Somebody like Abimbola that's a butch woman that doesn't look like Miss Pierre or me. If she's walking down the street, usually they get harassed and all that stuff. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey? Abimbola.
Yes, good evening. Yeah. Hi, Miss Temi. Well, I was born and bred in Nigeria, and I must confess it was pretty difficult being the odd one out and the family among my friends and everybody. So I had this nickname Tomboy. So for me, it was pretty difficult, and I had to go through a lot of based on my background, I had to do a lot of spiritual cleansing.
Yes.
for my parents. Like, yeah, so I had to do a spiritual class. Oh, like there's this thing the Yoruba parents call a Mary. Like, oh, they would do a Mary. Like, oh, that's the reason. I think after my graduation, I was the usual thing for African parents. Like, once you finish schooling and everything, the next phase is to get married. I
Yeah.
actually got married in 2007. I did. I did a wedding. I did 2 days party wedding. I had
Wow.
the engagement. I had the engagement and I had the white wedding on the
Wow.
next day. But believe you me, it was not for me. Immediately I got there, I knew, oh my God, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Is it that I'm in the wrong place at the right time or at the right place at the wrong time? So those were two things for me. And that was where my journey started. Like, I just have to be myself because you have to live in your authentic skin to be who you are. It was torturous. I went through hell. I went through hell. Being the first child of the first family,
Yep.
first of six, I've got half sisters, and it's crazy. I went through hell between 2007, like 2007 and 2008 was the black year for me. I call it the black year. It's a year I never want to remember for the rest of my life. It was
I
horrible.
hate to make you go back there. Can you give us a few things about that year that made it a black year?
Well, because when I finished, I got married in then supposedly married in 2007. That was, I think, that was the first week in December because my mom stays in the States, so she had to come home all the way from America to do the wedding. You know, these
Right.
parents and everything. So it was a societal wedding, and me getting in there from the first night, I moved out of the bedroom into the living room. Like, no, I can't be this. So the guy I got married to called my mom like, oh, your daughter is sleeping in a living room. I don't know how. I was like, this is not for me. The first time I tried sex, sorry, the X word with him
It's
was
okay.
like a priest trying
Right.
to sleep with a dog. You know how
Oh,
that is, right? Oh
yeah.
my God. So since then, it was horrible for me. It's a year I never want to remember. It was horrible, horrible, horrible for me.
I hear you.
Very horrible.
So,
And my
what gave you
parents were not
courage?
supportive. My parents were not supportive. They're like, oh no, you can't do that. Oh, then they started going back. They started retracing my history. Like, oh, she's got friends. Could be she's a lesbian. Then the news started. It could be she's a lesbian, or maybe she's sleeping with her friends. They attacked every of my friends. My
Right.
mother. Oh
Hold
my
on.
God.
That is one of the biggest problems with African parents. It's always somebody influencing you, Miss PA, to
Mhm,
be
mhm,
gay.
mhm,
It's never you
mhm.
being God created you
I'm
that way.
telling you. I'm telling you, it was a big war. My mom attacked every of my friends to their parents, like, want your daughter to leave my child alone. My child is this, my child needs to get married. Unfortunately for me, some of my friends have gotten married. Like, your daughter is married. I want my child to be married. I want my child to have kids.
Right.
You understand? So it was horrible for me. It was a horrible process for me. But I had to just fight the battle alone, do everything. My mom stopped talking to me, my dad stopped talking to me. I was all by myself. I needed to stand up for myself because I was here and I needed to just get over with. So
Okay.
that it was a horrible process for me, but I'm
But you had
happy.
the courage to do it. So, my question to you,
No, it was after 3 suicide attempts.
you and
So
I,
I'm
that's
just
not
another Tolu. I'm another Tolu, but I'm a survivor.
yeah. The reason why the total story really hit my heart is because I totally get where she's coming from. Like a lot of us,
Me
after
too.
being to church,
Mhm.
yeah, your mom was a pastor. My father didn't go to church. He didn't really care. He just wanted you to get an education. But I still, with the culture, our culture is very similar to the American culture because American blacks are very spiritual as well. Usually
Mhm.
Baptist. So for me, I went to churches, from church to church. I was trying to get cured. It didn't happen. So I thought there was a defect in my DNA. I tried to kill myself 3 times, just like yours. And I remember the last time I was laying on the bed. Go ahead. I'm good. Let me go ahead.
Only sick people need a cure.
Amen to that. That's why we do what we do. That's why we sit up here.
Only
Visibility.
sick people need a cure. You don't need a
Hallelujah.
cure. You the thing with it is you need as much counseling as any other normal person.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You need as much Jesus as any other normal person.
Amen.
But the only thing you need to learn is that if people didn't judge you for being a lesbian, they would judge you for being too fat,
Something
too
else.
short. There'd always be something to judge you for. But
Mhm.
it's unfair. We have to, like, even I explain to people, you can't run around hurting people's feelings in your confusion.
Yep.
And that was something that was huge for me. I wasn't going to go, I'm sorry that you went through that in a whole marriage. I've been Bola.
I've
I'm
been.
sorry that you went through that in the
That's all
marriage, because
right.
that had to be like being raped. That had to be like feel like rape almost, to have to deal with somebody feeling they have a right to sexually, harass you in a way. But I just want younger lesbians to know that coming out is not as important as getting out.
Yes. Hallelujah. You said it.
We encourage people to come out, but you're telling, this is an extreme thing here where, okay, I can tell you come out, come out, come out. But I live in New York. I live in Pennsylvania. I live in the United States. They can't do anything to me. Nobody's going to put me in jail for 14 years for something like this. Or in this country where we throw our children in the streets for being gay, or trans, or whatever we find to be undesirable about them. But fix a plan to get out. That's what's most important to me. Fix a plan to get out.
Yep.
Because we would love for this show to make such a difference that the Nigerian government sees the error of their ways and see that they are being unfair. And you get what I'm saying? The most important thing is a strategic plan. What is your plan? It's either you're going to come out or get out.
See,
getting out is more important to me.
For me,
because once you're out, you can do this. Had you stayed where you were, Moji, you wouldn't be able to do this to help people.
But I think
sometimes the outreach.
Here's the thing, Miss Pierre, because I didn't come here because I was gay. I came here to go to school. Yes, I'm privileged to be here, but there's a lot more people in Nigeria. There's 200 million Nigerians, and according to data, 10% of whatever country you're in is gay. So if 10% of Nigerians are LGBTQ, right? How many of those people can get out? For me, I'm not, there are Nigerians here in America that are married to men that are lesbians that I know. So it's not a matter of where you are that makes you out or in. I think it's a mental thing that makes you in or out. So you can be in Nigeria and live an authentic life.
But that's what I mean by get out. Okay. That's what I mean. Not your geographical location.
Amen.
I'm just saying we have to acknowledge our place of privilege. Not to do so minimizes another person's suffering. Right. Or wrong.
Oh, definitely.
You're in the UK. You're in a liberal society where you can walk down the street with your girlfriend and it's not a problem. You're talking to people who need to understand that, okay, family members, and I'll say this, and I hope this doesn't sound rude, but family members always accept successful gay people.
Always. That's why my preaching, if you hear me, Miss P, I'm like, be the best version of whatever you can be. I'm paying my mother's bill. She can't tell me jack. But we have to understand something, right? Abimbola, you're supporting yourself, so it doesn't really harass you. But we have to remember that there's a lot of young people that are coming up, which is why visibility is key. One of the things that I was preaching in the past was come out, come out, come out. About 2 years ago, I realized it doesn't matter if you came out or don't come out. It's what's up here that really matters. Because about 5 years ago, I was out, but I was still panning to people and begging them to accept me. So technically, I wasn't really out. Does that make sense? Because if I was now, I can fully say I'm out because mentally I'm out. I'm no longer in that space where I'm begging people to accept me. So even if you live in a country with 14-year law, there are people like Pamela Aida. There's a lot of people. There's Malino Lucy, who she said she's queer. She's not gay. She's on the thread. I see her there. But a lot of these young girls are using the word queer now. They're not saying they're lesbians. They prefer the word queer. But a lot of them are lesbians because if you're attracted to the same gender, to me, you're a lesbian.
But when people use the word queer, I think it's like when gay men don't want to be labeled as gay and they use the word bisexual because they think it's going to be more socially acceptable, or it's going to be more palatable for people to understand your preference. I just think the most important thing is to realize that whether you're gay or you're straight, I'm just going to tell you, people accept a successful gay person a lot quicker, more, quickly than they will a gay person who needs them. So I just tell kids, stay in school,
Yeah.
Stay in school, complete your coursework, get yourself a decent profession. That way you don't have to be at your mom's house or get put out. But to me, to tell you come out to sleep in the street, no, you have to. Getting out is more important than coming out.
Yep.
And that's what I explain to young people, because in the United States, we have National Coming Out Day. Come out, tell people who you are. But they're not going to tell them that you're going to sleep under a bridge once you come out. Or that your life will change from that point on. So my thing is, coming out is important, but not as important as positioning yourself to get out. Because once you're self-sufficient and independent, you don't need to hear other people's opinions of you.
That's right.
You don't need to. You don't need them for anything, and you don't need to live in their house and under their rules. But to run out into the street trying to be RuPaul and you have nowhere to go, I just don't know how that plan works.
That's part of the biggest
That's why I always tell people, don't come out, girl. Get out. Get out. Get yourself together so you can go on and have a productive life. Had you stayed in Nigeria, or let's say if I stayed in the Fire Baptized Church, would I have been able to be my whole self?
Probably.
It's a process.
It is a process, but again, it's not geography. It's not where you are, because I stopped. My thing was get out. But we cannot get 2 million Nigerians out. What country is going to take them? So if they become, what I started to preach was be your authentic self where you are. And the reason I say that is the fact that a lot of people think their parents don't know they're gay, or they don't, their cousins don't know they're gay and all that stuff. I sent you an inbox. Parents don't know that they're gay, or their mother or whatever. Thing is, most people don't know. But the moment that you acknowledge it to yourself first, right? To yourself, and I hate to use my wife as an example. My wife has been gay all her life. Her mother at 5, when my wife told me, my wife is a book. My mother at 5, when my wife said, I don't want to wear a dress, started buying her shorts and t-shirts. When we got married, her mom acknowledged, was there. When we went to Nigeria, her mom held my hand and hers together and said, I gave you to Margaret and I give Margaret to you. That's not a typical Nigerian parent. But we also have stories of people, I can't say names because I don't know if they're out. I have a lot of Nigerian friends that their mothers and fathers know they're gay. Visibility is what we're talking about. The more people that are visible, you don't have to go around announcing who you are or what you are. There's no reason for that. But the more visible people that are out there, it encourages other people to walk around in their own authentic skin. And I say that, and I'll say that again, because that the young woman that committed suicide was literally just coming out. But the damage that had been done for so many, many years to her is the reason why she could no longer take being in this universe, in this world. Because when you think about the fact that a lot of the people that are seen on social media that are out are half naked in the top, half the time, Abimbola, you know who I'm talking about. They're doing stupid things, their shirts are off. So those are the people that they look up to. Those are the people that they see. There was 2 weeks ago or so, a young Nigerian man called my phone and said, I just read somewhere that your wife is one of the top 10 doctors in the US. And I said, yes. Because I'm a gay man. I mean, he's impressive, right? Thank you. He just corrected me. In his impression, because there's a lot of gay Nigerians that are out there that are successful doctors and whatnot, but my wife is one of the few, actually the only one that I know that's standing up there being visible. So the young man called and said, oh my God, I never thought I was just going to quit because I wasn't going to stop going to school, because what is the point? He's like, what is the point? But it's for him.
The point is that even with your wife being accepted is easier and more palatable.
My wife, I told you need to come in. No. Are you coming? My wife is going to come in. Let me wait.
It's more acceptable.
My wife was not accepted. You need to come into the show. Yeah. Can you come in, please?
Yeah, it's easier for people when you have your life together.
I don't know.
Too many times people tell people come out. I just think that coming out is a situation that if you don't have your things lined up, you're gonna have a hard time.
This is Margaret, and that's Miss PA. Go ahead.
Which one?
The only one.
And that's theory.
Even, I'm just saying, even with her family accepting you, Moji, and saying, take care of my daughter, da 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 da. It's easier for people when you take care of your life or get your life to a position where they can't have a say-so because you don't need them for anything.
Anything, yeah.
It's a different thing if she lived in her mother's house.
But she did.
Wanted to bring things to her mother's house.
Let Margaret answer.
Then you leave people.
Margaret.
Then you leave people a place to have an opinion. Okay. When you take it, like I couldn't be my full self living in my mother's house. I had to move on and take care of myself and create my own environment for me to be who I am. Too many times, young people, I think being your authentic self is important, but do I have to be my authentic self to you, who I know you're willing to discriminate against me, mistreat me, and throw me out before I can get my life together? It's more important that you get out of the situation. And when I say get out, I'm not talking run from Nigeria. I'm not talking about run to another country. I'm talking about get yourself in a position where you don't have to live in a situation with people. And with Black women, the only way out for us is education, marriage, or the lottery.
I hear you, but give me a second. This is Margaret, my wife. Let her answer that whole. Yeah, go ahead, please. I beg you.
So, just to give you some history, you had asked me to come on the show earlier on.
Yep.
And I said I wasn't. I said I wasn't coming on the show because the whole discussion around visibility I find annoying.
Right.
And, you know, I was sitting there and listening to the commentary, so I wasn't planning to come in. So I apologize for bombing your show.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think
wanted
it's
you to come.
important that people like me speak for ourselves, because there is a misinterpretation out there that if you're rich or if you're successful or if you're politically powerful, then the gay walk is easy. I think that is totally unfair. I think a lot of the damage and the discussion around visibility, you know, we've talked a lot about the men, we've talked a lot about the parents. You know, my personal opinion is that we need to talk more about ourselves. And I speak from my walk as a lesbian who is masculine of center. Easy to blame men, but, you know, we've had comments on your show about, oh, I didn't want to be a boy. We don't want to be boys. I'm sure Abimbola doesn't want to be a boy. We are just who we are, and we're asking to be accepted for who we are. We get a lot of, you know, there are feminine-looking lesbians, for example, who would not want to associate with Abimbola because that's a show way of knowing that you're lesbian. So I'll just throw that in there, but let me go back to the reason that prompted me to come in. We blame parents for throwing kids out, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if we're really fair to parents, it's fair that they feel. They don't hate their kids. Now, some may, but the vast majority of parents do not hate their children. They're just afraid of what they have come to believe homosexuality is.
Yeah.
So let's give them that. You know, and I think a lot of parents, children, parents, they don't have those conversations, right? Yeah. Now, they don't have those conversations. You know, I grew up with my mother in really poor circumstances. I wasn't like a doctor from 6 years old. Poor circumstances, we struggled, but I spoke to her about just who I was. And at that point in time, it wasn't about, you know, I had met someone or I had a girlfriend or boyfriend. That was just who I was. Yes, I'm maybe one of the fortunate ones where my mother had some insight. Yeah, maybe. So that was my mother, but that has nothing to do with me being successful or me being rich and then being accepted. I have spent over 50 years walking literally over broken glass, walking over people's disdain, people's comments. And today, I still have to do the very same thing. The fact that I don't have to depend on anyone else to feed me is a plus. But emotional safety, psychological safety, emotional pain cannot be solved by food, and it can't be solved by money. The challenges that I face are just as real, they're just as painful, and I'm sure, Abimbola, you know the same thing. And I'm successful today should not give anyone the right to discount the many years of pain that I walked through to get. So I'm just a very blunt and frank person, but I
this is the thing.
People who are in my situation.
I would never discount anybody's hard work, because everything that I have, I've worked for and provided for myself. So I understand what hard work is. I just know that as a community and as people, we tend to have a little more patience, lenience, and understanding when people are what we consider rich, successful, or if we feel that they have this model life. Because people, when they look at your life, people that I think that people like they try to create whatever reality they think you have, and they get comfortable with that. They probably think, oh, I had somebody ask Sabrina, do I have people clean my house? I'm like, no, I clean my own house. Where do they get this stuff from? People create whatever realities they need, I guess, to make them feel good.
That is correct.
I just know that as a young person coming out, I know I had friends that slept at the pier. I had friends that slept in the street. I had friends that prostituted and had survival sex because they needed money and food. And all I always wondered to myself was being authentic worth having to expose yourself to AIDS and HIV? But I just think that things are in time.
As an African child,
and we have to. Everybody doesn't have the ability to say, "I'm strong enough to walk through the fire and the flame." And if you know you're not that strong, I think sitting tight until you're able to move away from the hostile situation is just a safer thing for me.
That's
just a safer thing for me.
That's as true as it gets. Abimbola, go.
Especially for Black lesbian women, because you have situations where we're raped and the police won't take a report. So we go through fire just to be able to say, okay, I'm a lesbian. I don't feel that anyone should discredit you for your hard work. But I also don't think we need to explain to people that what if you did have to depend on people for food, clothing, and shelter as a situation that they're in today? Because a lot of people live with their parents, live with their families. And if this is a hostile situation, the best thing you can do is position yourself to go to create a life for yourself, because all of our families aren't blood.
I totally understand. Actually, most of my family is not blood. My family, what I call family today, are the people that have come around us and rallied around us, and that's family to me. If you look in my composition of families, there's no same blood people in it, really, honestly, because our experiences are totally different from each other. All of us that are sitting here, we're saying visibility is important. We can't tell people. I no longer tell people to come out until they're ready. I used to shout, "Come out, come out." Abimbola, you were going to jump in.
It was to come out.
Yes. I was going to say something about coming out. The first thing about coming out is self-acceptance. I, for one, in 2007, I denied being a lesbian, even though I've been sleeping with girls many years before then.
Yeah,
I denied it to my parents' face because I never had all it takes to say, "Oh yes, mommy, this is what I am. What can you do about it?" It took me years. It took me about, I think come out to my mom or accept myself for who I am until 2014. That was just about a few years ago. It took me years. Even though I was caught red-handed, they said stories, they caught me sleeping with a woman in the bedroom, they did a lot of things, People were coming up with all stories I never knew existed, but they were telling me. I was like, oh my God. So I thought I was doing them in secret, but it was already open.
Let's take some comments real quick, okay? I see a lot of people are on here. I have friends who are gay, and I don't go identify them as my gay friend. They are just my friend. That's the way it should be. I mean, we're just people, But as for me, I don't walk into a room. I don't know if you do. I don't walk into a room and say I'm gay. But the moment I walk into a room with my wife, they know we're gay. So it's not like I'm going to say, "Oh, Stella is my straight friend." Stella is my friend. Miss Pierre is my friend. Abimbola is my friend. But it's important. It's the same way when a child is growing up that they look at Obama. Let's take Obama for an example. Most black boys or women or girls in America never thought a black person would ever be the president. Then Obama became right?
Ever be president.
Not in my lifetime anyway.
I didn't think I would live to see it.
You know, and then Obama became president, and a lot of young black people, Kamala Harris, and a lot of people started coming out and running for office and trying to be, you know, move towards that seat. It's the same. That's one of the reasons why visibility is important. Visibility is not about everybody coming out. Visibility is, to me, is making yourself available to be seen. It doesn't matter if you're in America on Fifth Avenue as a gay lesbian woman, because this is not a gay conversation. This is a lesbian conversation. Because like I said when I did the intro, lately all we hear about is transgender, and that's fine because they're the newest, you know, minorities to be coming out there for visibility. But the lesbian word is becoming extinct in my belief, because it is. A lot more people are gearing now towards queer. They'll rather say I'm queer or I'm this or I'm that, aside of the lesbian label. And then if you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're a lesbian, people want to make you feel bad because they think you're not being inclusive. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think the word lesbian has almost had like a negative thing attached to it now, that when people hear the word lesbian, they're like, lesbian. But if people say queer, they feel that it's easier for people to accept maybe. I just know you need to be proud of yourself, proud of your accomplishments, and you need to understand that everybody's not going to accept you. Everybody's not going to accept who you love. Everybody's not going to accept how you love. It's just the world that we live in. And visibility emoji is very important. You're not off the mark with that. It's very important. But visibility needs to be safe, because you need to arrive alive in order to be visible.
Amen.
You know what I mean? And especially in these kinds of situations politically, where you're putting somebody in jail for 14 years.
14 years. And that's if you're lucky.
You're going to be gay by the time you get out in 14 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lesbian women, I mean, they can't find each other in Nigeria because they're not out like that.
But so, if you go back to what Abimbola said, because I think that's key in my mind, it starts with self-acceptance.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people out there claim to accept themselves. What I see happening more often is that people look for acceptance from others
people,
in order to validate acceptance of self. And that is doing it backwards.
That's true.
That's the way I see it.
Especially people they admire, people who have a platform, people who are famous, people who they feel have money, people who they just admire. Just because you're pretty. You have people who follow you, Moji, just because you're easy to look at.
I know, right?
and many people are not ready to pay the price because it takes. Sorry, Miss Pierre.
Follow the way they follow you.
But it's not even just about the. Abimbola, you were about to hit on something very, very important.
Yes, I said because many of them are not ready to pay the price. They just want to be gay because they want to be gay. But you have to pay the price. You have to sacrifice a lot. Besides your parental love and everything, you have to sacrifice a lot and be yourself. Be independent. That's the most important thing. Because if you don't have what it takes, forget it. You're gonna die in the closet.
Yeah, it's not even dying in the closet. A lot of people, what they do now, what I see a lot of the young people do, which is why I was very appreciative that you with that concept of get an education, get yourself together, and all that. Dying in the closet is one thing, but dying, you see, there's so many people walking around already dead, you know, and that for me is the worst part.
I know that feeling.
You know, and I came out in my 40s.
Do you know in 2013 I was lynched by the police in stadium, National Stadium Surulere? I was beaten blue black. Yeah, that was when they had 2012, sorry, because they had this law in 2011 December, because I went to South Africa, I came back. So 2012, sometime around August, I was with my girlfriend. I wasn't supposed to, but we're at the park. So we parked both cars, and when the car kissing, oh my God, we were beaten blue black. And not only beaten, we were exploited. I had to cover 100,000 then in 2011 for my account before I could get bid. They had seized my driver license. They did a lot of things. Ever since then, I was scared for my life. So I couldn't do anything in public ever since then. Yeah.
And that's the difference between somebody like you, that looks like you, a butcherman, and somebody like me. We go to the African market here. Half the time when we walk in, they're like, pss, pss, pss. What I started to do now is I'll go to them and say, oh my God, you look like my cousin. How are you? Just to embarrass them. Right back into their doors. And they're not staring at me. They're staring at Margaret. They're looking at my wife going, like, look, if you have a question, just come up. Visibility is very important. We can never understand. I mean, for me, visibility is important because when and how you are visible is even more important than just being visible. Because there's a lot of crazy people that are visible, which is why a lot of mothers go, I want my child to be gay in Africa. So I've gotten so many messages and calls from me being here, just doing me, giving people a little window into our lives. And parents have called me and said, oh my God, my son is gay. I am so grateful that I met somebody like you. And they just randomly tune into the show. And they see me and the way I carry myself and the fact that I'm married, because they don't think it's possible for gay people to have good relationships that are monogamous. So very often they'll inbox me and say, thank you so much. And a lot of kids will tell their parents to go watch my show.
I did tell my mom to watch your show one time. That was last year. Mommy, go and watch Auntie Buchi's show.
I know, right? I was so proud the day you did this. And then your mom.
No, I did that to my mom.
I always speak up in defense of parents, right? Because it's about unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And we often think that we can say things to change unconscious bias. We can't. Unconscious bias is what it is. It's unconscious. And parents have been programmed over the years. When you hear gay, you see this particular picture. When you hear lesbian, you see that. It's not their fault. It's fear that's driving them. So I think one of the things that we have to do, and this is not to say they're not just parents out there. So let me make that caveat. I'm just talking about the normal, it's just the average parent. It's up to us to begin to change the rhetoric and begin to change the associations, mental associations with what a gay person looks like. So that when they hear gay, what flashes in are the positive images as opposed to the negative images. And that's going to be the start. And that's where I think we have personal obligations.
That's where visibility is very important. I mean, there's, when a straight person in the straight world, they're okay with people being crazy, being this, being that, being that. But in our world, as of the moment, in the lesbian and the gay world at the moment, their idea of what or who we are is only one faceted, because we've been telling the same story for so long. That's why I get upset when people just focus on sex in their engagement with the outside, and people call me a prude and this and that. But it's not about being a prude. It's the messages you're sending out. It's exactly what we're trying to change. The story is that we don't have sex all day. Yeah, there's 24 hours in the day. And when you start to talk to adult parents, up to parents, they think, oh, homosexuals, they're just going to sleep around with everybody. And they we all don't have AIDS. I mean, it's AIDS actually at the moment, according to data 2-3 days ago when I checked, there's more heterosexuals that are contracting HIV than gay people.
And AIDS is a disease. It's a
disease. It's like catching a cold, like coronavirus or whatever it is that's out there. It's not a gay stigma. It's not something that we created. So that's the bottom line. Kimberly, okay, go do your thing.
Thanks, guys. I've got to run.
All right.
Nice.
Bye, doctor.
Thank you so much. Kimberly Obi says the word lesbian is getting erased. I totally believe that, especially in third world countries, because it's easier. If you put gay, lesbian on your page, you're going to get trolled. That's part of the price I pay for having my profile picture as my wife and I. So Kimberly will be yes, but it's up to each individual that identifies as a lesbian to continue to use the word, because along the way, when I was coming out, I'm not going to lie to you, it was easier to say I'm bisexual. I sat here for 2 years on this show talking about I'm bisexual. I had not been with a guy, but I thought it was easier So then when I came into my own skin and I started to say, I'm lesbian, it wasn't until then did my life actually become, I didn't become who I was supposed to be until I stepped into my full skin. I hate to get emotional, but, and it's one of the things Miss Pierre said earlier, when you said it wasn't until you owned who you are, right? Remember that your life came together. I want us to touch on that, because identity, when your identity is threatened, I don't think you can become the full version of yourself. I really don't. Go ahead, Miss Pierre.
I just think that younger lesbians are missing out on the sisterhood that's coming out, where other lesbians, we identified with each other, even if it was based on who I saw you with, I associated that you know what I mean? Like, we had that head nod that we knew each other, and we had places to meet, to have fellowship, even if it was a club or a bar or a park or a certain area that we hung out in. We had those things. Now today you look at them and they're just all trying to figure it out on their own without any guidance from older people. Yeah, and that's what makes it so concerning for me with younger people's safety. To me, I'm a person, I just think about people's safety first, because I know whatever I go through, if I make it out alive, I can do something more the next day. I can maybe correct that error or change how I do things or learn from this and it'll never happen again. Or maybe I can tell somebody else about my experience and help them to grow. But I just think that young people are in so much danger. If you're telling me you're going to put somebody in jail for 14 years, that's almost unconscionable.
Now, Miss Pierre, let me there's a question I just put on the
screen. I want to answer that. I want to answer that.
I've been bold, like, it's very, and then you too.
The question says, you want to be visible to who? To whoever cares to know, because by not telling them who you are doesn't make them understand that this is real. So I want, I'm like in my church, when I changed my church recently, and I went to the white church and I told them, oh, I'm a lesbian woman. I was accepted. Even they love me more. And it's a white church. I attended a Baptist church.
Okay.
Full of old people.
I am so, let Miss PA answer that, and then I'll answer that for Stella, because it's very important that people understand why we have to have visibility.
Why does any woman want to be visible? You're visible because me being here means that somebody else who's behind me knows that it's okay for them to be here. Visibility is very important for women of color. It's just like why we do our hair. Why do you have those beautiful rhinestone glasses? It's what we do. Just knowing I'm here, somebody else who's going through what I'm going through, having the feelings that I had, uncertain about their life, uncertain about their decisions, they know it's okay because this or that person do it. If there was no Diana Ross, there would have never been a Beyonce. Because Beyonce wouldn't have seen other women before her to know that she could do it.
That's right.
It's important for you and your wife to be visible so that other women know, and young girls who are thinking about love or thinking they can have a family and thinking these things are not possible can see you and your wife and know I can marry good, and I can marry functionally, and I don't have to pretend, and I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. That's what's important, because if you can deny my existence, you can deny me liberty, you can deny me rights, you can deny me freedoms. But if you know that I'm here and I am not going anywhere, you have to acknowledge my existence.
That's right.
As a Black lesbian woman, I've been standing proud for a very long time. I'm not going anywhere, and I don't do closets. They're for coats and shoes.
Amen.
I don't do closets. So even with me, like I told my friend, even with me, because I had a talk with my friend about visibility. It's important. That's just like Black people. What if we said it's not important that we're seen? We'd still be in the cotton fields and on the backs of buses.
Margaret,
visibility is everything. If there was no need for visibility, we wouldn't need a census.
Let me tell you, when you talk about visibility is so important. When I started the show and I brought in Miss PA, I mentioned the fact that I was still in the closet. I had just come out of the basement, moved into the closet. So I was one layer out, but I wasn't fully out. And then I walked in, and all the people that I saw around me in those days were butch women. I didn't realize that it was okay for me to be the way I was. I was trying to dress like boy. I am a femme lesbian, and it's okay. We have different, realms of people. When I saw Miss Pierre on stage that day, it was like somebody just took the shackles off of me, because here I am, not really comfortable in what I have on, but being afraid to be myself, because I didn't realize that it's okay, because every femme woman that I know was in the closet, married to a man, and using women, butch women, as side toys. And that's a part. And I speak out very often when Stella says, "Oh, who do you want to be out for, visible for?" We want to be visible for people that are going through what we've been through, or are confused about who they are. Because everywhere you go,
acknowledge my existence.
That's right.
Acknowledge my existence.
Yeah.
Know that I'm there, and know that
I do.
It's just when people will say this to us, but we won't ask Hasidic Jews, why do you wear the garb that you wear? Because so they're seen and they're visible and they're noted, and we all know that this is part of the Hasidic community. That's why they do it.
That's right. Let me read Margaret's statement, and I'll go someplace else. Margaret, my wife, says, "We want to be visible because no one should be resigned to invisibility. It diminishes the humanity in us all."
Exactly.
It wasn't a question about, but more a statement for all of us as women. I totally understand what you're saying. Yes, so Stella De Silva, yes, indeed, I hear you guys. We've been going for about an hour now, and I don't want to keep you guys because I know it's Saturday. I want to thank you both from the bottom of my heart. Abimbola, when I ran into you, I was so grateful, because it's one thing to meet people. A lot of the young people that I meet out there are in the closet, and here's this young woman that has a not-for-profit for all people in Nigeria, not gay people, for all people. I'll talk a little bit about what it is that you do. And then Miss Pierre, you're going to talk about what you already do. That's, please, Abimbola, talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, I have a not-for-profit in Nigeria to support vulnerable women and children, because I know in Africa they suffer a lot. I really wish maybe someday I have a not-for-profit for LGBT, because Tolu's case really got me. It really got me. And if I had been there, if I had spoken out for people like Tolu, I'm sure another girl won't lose her life because of that. So I really feel so bad for Tolu. And I said, I promise I want to join your Antimuji. I want to join you full force to support. Yeah, I really want to.
Thank you so much. It's important that we have all sorts of women in this African LGBTQ movement. And it's a movement that's really all over the world, because there's still young people in America, even though we think that it's so, there's a law that protects us here, and there's this. Every day we're getting abused, we're getting bashed, we get trolled, even in America. So it's
even in UK, it's not safe in UK as well. Yeah, people get bashed on buses and everything.
Maybe 10 years from now, I've been in places where they don't know that who we are. This is one of the reasons why my wife was very adamant about the fact that being successful doesn't really mean anything unless you're staying in your bubble. Because when my wife and I go out, we're not going out in Chanel and all that stuff. Sometimes we're in sweatsuits and we're just looking like everybody else, and they don't know who we are. And we get trolled, we get abused, and by white, gay, we're in Texas right now. It doesn't, harassment is harassment all over the world. Visibility is very important all over the world, all across the board. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, green, or gray. It helps to see somebody that looks like you, that's living your life, or a life that you might like to emulate. So visibility is very important. Thank you so much, Abimbola. Hang tight. Miss Pierre, would you please tell them about you, what you do, your show that I go to and watch?
Okay, hi, I'm Tammy PA. I'm a comedian and a public speaker and an advocate for the LGBT community and the QIA community. Like I said, I just want us to be, even if you can't be honest with other people, be honest with yourselves. I'm in the middle right now writing a one-woman show that finishing it up, everything got railroaded due to Miss Corona. So right now, like I said, my travel is done. Shows that I'm home. I'm just hoping, like I said, that in this new normal, we can find a place to exist and find a place to find sisterhood amongst lesbians, because we worry about how other people accept us. We need to worry about how we accept ourselves and how we treat one another. I think that's more important, because in the lesbian community, we have different sects and hierarchies and different places on the ladder with different rooms we can be on socially, where we're not accepting of ourselves most times. And that even compares to something like skin complexion, to hair texture, to weight or look, or age, or we have so many reasons that we can find to discriminate against one another or to mistreat one another. We have to find love within ourselves if we want other people to love us and respect us.
Thank you so much, you guys. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to send you off screen, and I am so grateful that you both took time out of your life to and have authentic conversations with me. To you guys that are listening out there, Miss Tammy PA is on social media. Bimbola Omotayo has a not-for-profit, and she lives in the UK. She's a Nigerian out woman. Miss P, of course, is absolutely out. You guys follow them, listen to them, support their causes, and tune into them as well. I thank you both for coming in. I'm going to take you off screen, and then I'll do my monologue, and then we'll be out. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Look, today's been one of those days that I didn't think I could be able to do this show, because I was still reeling from the hurt of the 20-year-old woman, young woman in Nigeria that committed suicide. Visibility is very important in every aspect of our lives, from you wanting to be a business person, from having mentors, from whatever it is, whatever part of your life, segment of your life, you still have an idea or somebody that you can look up to. Somebody that's being looked up to has a high responsibility as well as to how they carry themselves in society. If we as LGBTQs or lesbians are trying to change the narrative, we need to come to the table correct. We need to own who we are. And people say they prefer the word queer and whatnot. Label is lesbian. I gave up a lot to be able to own that word lesbian. I am not queer. I am not bi. I am a lesbian, which is a woman that's romantically, erotically attracted to, and spiritually, by the way, attracted to the same gender. We're not recruiting anyone. All I'm saying is that if you are a lesbian and you can hear me, do not allow anybody to water down who you are. Being a lesbian is part of who you are. If you want to be out, but love yourself, own yourself, and please, I repeat, please, don't ever think that you're alone, because there's many, many, many of us that are out there. So do your research, don't follow people blindly, and do yourself a huge favor and understand that the world is what we create. The world is how we create it. And the more visible lesbians that are out there, we won't become like the dinosaurs that are now totally extinct, because the way the world is going on at the moment, before you know it, the word lesbian will no longer be in the dictionary, will just be women or queer or this or that. As everywhere I go, when I go to the doctor's office, I am being asked, and my doctor is LGBTQ friendly, but on the application form, I have to tell them if I'm a cis woman or a transgender. And I support all my trans sisters and brothers out there, but I don't want to become invisible because somebody else is allowed a space in the world. The sky is huge and it's got millions of stars in it. There's no reason for them to try and overshadow each other or actually keep each other off the pedestal. Visibility, visibility, visibility. Don't forget that if you're visible, everything you do is affecting some child or somebody out there in the world that you don't even know is watching you. To all of you guys, all of you lesbians like Jordan Rhodes, like a lot of you guys that are out there, my wife Margaret, and Pamela Aida, Omotayo Abimbola, Tammy PA, a lot. I can't even continue to speak out on how many women. I scream a huge shuku to you. And to those of you that are coming up out there, I was going to bring in Marlene Oluchi, but she considers herself queer. So because she's queer, I could not bring her onto a lesbian show. So when I do a queer show, then I will bring her on. But to all of you guys out there that the word lesbian resonates with, know that there's a lot like you, a lot of you out there. And I am telling you, people, shuku to all of you for having the courage to live your authentic lives. This is Mojisola Wilson, and I am grateful to all of you fabulous women that came before me for giving me your shoulders to be able to stand on. I am grateful. Namaste. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you guys come again and again, because we'll be doing this series about, you know, LGBTQ issues on my personal page and all the other issues on the public page. There's too many square people on the other page. It's been amazing. Have a great, great day, and I will see you later.